to support and guide in the magazine. You don't want it sticking out the bottom, it makes the gun bulkier when the magazine isn't fitted, and might make it harder to get the magazine out. It's less likely to drop free if there's more material for it to get friction. Right, it looks like we've got two different ammo counters on this. We've got a readout black gun. Very hard to see when you're actually using it, but I guess why not have it? The gun has got power at all times and it's robust and doesn't add weight, why not have it on there? But then for actual aiming purposes, within your peripheral vision, in fact not even your peripheral vision, within your vision, by your eye, is a bar that shrinks and changes colour the lower the magazine gets. That's intriguing. I've not seen that done before. I think if you were ever going to incorporate a visible round counter in something like a military firearm as a ready reminder of the status of your weapon, you know, does it need to be tactically reloaded in some way? That seems plausible to me, more plausible than big glowing numbers. Because soldiers either count their rounds, or certainly supposed to in the British Army, or they will conduct a check of the weapon. If that counts, that's sort of vague indication is reliable and doesn't accidentally show you that the gun's empty or full when it isn't, I could see that being integrated. Okay, I'm getting a distinct family resemblance vibe. This kind of makes sense. In the world of model cars, we've had convergent design where the typical family car ends up looking much the same, regardless of the sizing of brakes and convention. And I think we're going that way with firearms as well. There is an aesthetic fashion element to firearms design. Some designs have been designed with the outer look first, before it was sketched pretty much on a napkin, before we then worked out what to put in it to make it done. So I don't see how that would continue to diversify, initially to try and diversify the market so people see something distinct, but then as soon as one manufacturer you end up, I think, converging back down on everything looking the same. Something like this, where they all work very similar way, but they're radically different, I can see it. Right, next up we've got a spacey reinterpretation of something like a Minimi, or maybe more accurately a Knight's Armament stoner type machine gun, something of that nature. So seeing this actually run, it behaves like a belt fed weapon. It looks like an RPG. The magazine feed device thing is very bulky. Potentially there's a very compact belt all the way in there. I don't know if it's meant to be belt or magazine fed. Now the only difference there would be whether there's a spring in the magazine, in the container that feeds, or whether the mechanism of the gun is dragging it out of there. As it's entirely closed. Now what does conclusively say magazine is there's no top cover. There's no way to open the gun and feed the belt in. Then again, if this has got servo motors dragging ammunition through the gun, maybe you wouldn't need a top cover. They clearly wanted a hybrid between model sense. And then we've got this utterly bizarre devil head thing on the back of this particular. What can I say? Except, anything that adds weight is not usually desirable. What the heck is going on there? So we've opened up the gun that apparently does fire bullets from a sort of a drum mag at the back, and we've shoved a thermite grenade, which we've seen being used in the footage. That gets shoved into the action somehow, even though bullets have to get from the back of the gun to the front of the gun. That works. And then that is somehow superheating something. It looks like a barrel is getting superheated. And then that makes the bullets do thermite things. Not a clue. It doesn't make a little sense, but it's quite cool. Let's see what damage it does. So the effect is fairly subdued. There's not a great deal of incendiary effect that I'm seeing there. It just kind of, as it says on the indicator there, revs up your conventional ammunition. Now, regardless of feed issues, shall we say, heat is a massive problem for firearms. Now, I'd be less concerned about that if this game didn't use conventional self-contained metallic ammunition in brass cases. Use some futuristic ammunition system. I could get my head around it a bit better. I'm guessing the guns have some sort of cooling system built into them. This one must, because if your cartridge gets red hot, as we're seeing here, the thermite's damn hot. Really, really hot. That's how it works. It burns down through. What happens is the round goes off, and you don't have to hit the primer in the back of the case to set it off. If you leave it in a fire or shoot it in a very hot gun, this is why machine guns are typically open bolt, so stop what's called cook-off, where the round just blows up. Because if that happens before the bolt's locked, the gun will explode, do a bit of damage, potentially do you damage. So deliberately applying super heat to your firearm is a bad idea. Alright, so this, I don't have to kind of stare and squint and work out what inspiration might be for this. This is very clearly an M14 or like an M14 EBR in space. It's even got the, we'd probably say Springfield Armory on the receiver back, stamped into metal, same thing here, but it's Lastimosa Armory, Chula Vista, California on the back. Now it's not a 3D model of an M14 that they have abstracted and redesigned. They've designed it from the ground up, but with some very direct references. And the role is the same, DMR. Now the original M14 role was infantry rifle, or it might now be a battle rifle. So this isn't so much based on that. The original infantry version of the M14, long barrel wooden furniture, shotgun style stock, but this does still actually have a shotgun style stock, which is a very sci-fi version of it, cheap piece. Shortened barrel, but still capable of enough accuracy and crucially to deliver 760 NATO level firepower out to medium range, 600 to 800 metres. Now this isn't doing 600 to 800 metres in game because ranges in games are inevitably contracted. Probably the most grounded gun that I've seen in the game, and the only one that you could recreate if you wanted to using an M14 as the basis. Another nice sci-fi design here. Bullpup, DMR. Now it says triple barrel marksman rifle. There are multiple barrel rifles. One or two made for because the manufacturer could, and people would buy them for fun essentially. And then a couple of trial rifles over the years. The idea being to effectively combine the effect of a shotgun and a rifle by giving you rifle range and ballistics with a fixed spread of shots. So one easy way was to increase the number of bullets in the cartridge, and then they did look at dual barrels. There is precedent for this, but there is no successful military rifle that uses 2 or 3 barrels because the barrel is a large amount of the weight of a given firearm. So you better be getting some serious or important effect out of the thing to put 2 or especially 3 barrels into it.
Track my pipe.
Right, not what I expected. This is some kind of an energy weapon. Magazine fed still, I guess the magazine contains some sort of projectile. Is it plasma? I don't know. It's very cool though, and I really like what they've done with these 3 barrels. Now with a conventional firearm, 3 barrels would make it far too heavy. With some kind of energy weapon and the right technology and materials, let's pretend it doesn't add much weight, and it means that you get either a spread of shot, meaning that effectively a shotgun, or if you hold it down, 3 barrels somehow converge on one spot and you get all 3 bullets hitting approximately the same place. So like a weird combo DMR shotgun. We're doing something different. I like it. Another very sci-fi looking design, the side-mounted magazine brings to mind things like the Gepard anti-material rifle, the Neopop 20mm, again an anti-material rifle, and perhaps that's a better comparison because this is clearly meant to be a very man-portable, non-cruiser type. No, is it an anti-material rifle? Now you can run the barrack on your own as well. Prove that. So is there any stands to reason something like that will get lighter and more wieldable in the future as well. However, what's a bit odd goes against this sort of futuristic is the manual operation. Very good in the game to balance the very high power of the gun. Incidentally, I like the bullet shaped round. There's no reason why it's not straightforward, which should be self-loading. If anything, self-loading tends to reduce the felt recoil on the shooter because it slows down how long that really takes to hit you position. But it's a cool design, and you know, you've got to offset the capability of the weapon somehow. Either make it one shot only and even more powerful, give it a magazine and make it straight full bolt action. First, I thought this was some form of revolver. If you look closely enough, it does have a reloadable ammunition unit. I hesitate to call it. It's definitely not a cylinder. It doesn't turn. It's not a magazine. I guess it's an en-bloc clip. Let's go with that. It's essentially a block of something that has 3 rounds set into it. But we seem to be getting more than 3 shots out of it. So the gun opens up, you slap that in, gun closes up, and these are very small shot rounds. Now there are shot shells for pistols, revolvers, not so much for shot pistols because they don't necessarily function the gun reliably. They're usually used for revolvers. Here, with your essentially chamber of 3 shots, yes, that could work, but you'll inevitably think of the space in there, your shot are going to be absolutely tiny. And the only real-world use for a shot pistol of this small caliber is defense against snakes. That's what they're used for in the real world. Maybe for keeping vermin down, rats, that kind of thing. Well, this is just something new, different. I don't fully understand it, but I like the fact that they are trying something different. Sort of unholy hybrid here of a break open shotgun, a lever action shotgun, and some sort of space gun. Because we've got a lot of glowing blue stuff here, electrical, crackling electricity along the barrel housing thing, and a blue ethereal glow when you eject the clip, I think it is. It is firing shots, so whether there's an electromagnetic assist going on or that's how they're accelerated. No gunpowder, it doesn't go bang when you shoot it. Regardless of all of that, I have no idea why you would need a lever to cycle rounds that are already in the chamber. Other, of course, than this. The wingman, helpfully marked on its replacement cylinder, obviously, with a futuristic Magnum-type revolver. Slightly curious operation in the top and the bottom. Perhaps, I guess you call them, mechanically open up to facilitate reloading. I'm not sure why the bottom one needs to open for that to happen. And in fact, if there's enough room for the cylinder to revolve, I'm not sure why you need the top strap to lift up either. It's a visual interest in that, I assume. Now, it raises the classic question of why bother. I don't, it doesn't matter how futuristic this revolver is, still to open fit with 6 rounds per cylinder. We have standard pistols, compact pistols, 15 rounds in the back. So why would you compromise with 6? Better be getting armor penetration for some reason, some kind of enhanced power that a self-loading pistol couldn't handle for whatever reason. It doesn't really make sense. As always, if you'd like to support the work we do here at Foreign Armories, have a look at the description for this video. I'm going to have to do that. Either way, I'll see you next week. custom weapon configurations, this crouch down, tilt the weapon thing does make sense. So something like this Barrett equipped with its conventional long-range magnified optic, you only have two options using that close range. It's basically, it's like try walking around your house with a pair of binoculars or something. It's not sensible to be looking through a magnified lens and trying to get around at close quarters. So you have two options, either look over the scope, which could be quite awkward with this thing, or cant it over. I think in this case, tilting it makes a certain amount of sense. Why you'd only do that when crouched though, quite makes sense.
I'll take this.
Okay, pause at 7:14. What the hell is happening there? Looks like whenever you eject a mag, slide magically goes for it. Am I seeing that right? Right, I don't know if it's a Resident Evil connection, but I think having a Beretta in a zombie game does tick a few boxes. Now this says Beretta M9, it's not an M9 because it has the accessory rail on the dust cover, under the barrel. But it's not an M9A1 because it has the wrong shape of the trigger guard. Because when they added that rail, they reprofiled the trigger guard, which used to curve inwards like this one, to be a flat surface to mate with the back of the light or laser module that you're fitting. So this is a curious hybrid of M9 and M9A1. Right, a curious oversight here with Beretta. Whenever we hit reload, we flick out the magazine and magically the slide leaps to the rear and locks open, regardless of the state of the weapon. So I'm hoping that gets fixed at some point because I'm distracting to nerds of a certain stripe like me. So it's even more of a 93R in 92 clothing than I thought, because it's actually 3-round burst only, which is exactly what the 93R does. It doesn't actually allow for auto fire, and neither does this. Now, if you're trying to kind of gunsmith this thing to fire more than one round quickly, that's achievable for fully automatic. I don't think it would be achievable, certainly not very easily, and not without leaving some visible evidence on this gun to turn it into a 3-round burst mechanism. That requires widgets and doohickeys inside the gun that don't exist inside this gun. Without getting into the details of how you would make it fully automatic, of course, it is substantially more straightforward to look at doing that. I wouldn't raise too much of an eyebrow if this thing was full auto. I'm raising both eyebrows at once that it is a 3-round burst. Right, so our third shotgun now. The Nelly M4 Super 90 semi-automatic shotgun used for military, law enforcement, competition purposes. This one's relatively vanilla for a modern tactical shotgun. I mean, if you had to take a shotgun into this level of frenetic combat of any kind, it's an excellent choice. What doesn't make a huge amount of sense, and I suspect it's been done deliberately to elicit comments, is a magnified optic on a shotgun. Not entirely out of the question. If you were trying to deliver slugs at 50 meters or more, maybe you might want a magnified optic to do that, but it would hamper your ability to use it as a close quarters weapon. Something else we can see through this scope is the always-on tracers, I think I'm going to start calling them now, which are not just a video game thing, a movie thing. Every gun that fires a shot has a tracer effect coming out of it, whether or not it's loaded with tracers. And we see that weirdly up close through the scope, so we see several tracer patterns of pieces of shot as they emerge magnified out of the gun. Suffice to say, you can see that in reality, you can see a wisp of smoke and maybe an effect on top. That would be it. So we have another M4 that isn't deliverable here. Now, it's very close, however, because of the very high resolution here, we can see that is not an issue lower receiver. That is, if this was real, either a dealer sample or illicitly produced select fire AR-15 lower receiver. It has some sort of skull and crossbones maker's mark on there. Somebody who played the game tell us what it actually says. Not US government issue. This is a civilian configuration of AR-15, but it is select fire. It's fully automatic, it is semi-automatic, and obviously has the same position. Well, the reload is interesting, it's very slick. We've got drop the magazine goes on, and then the thumb is held in a position where we can immediately hit bolt release. That's doable, but you have to have some skill. be able to pull that off every time. The classic example of an AR-15 reload, which is actually taught in, has been taught in the military circles, law enforcement circles, about filmers reload in heat, extreme battle, where it's quite slow and deliberate, but sufficiently flawless that it can be used as teaching material. And you can see there how the magazine goes on, it's probably tugging slightly to make sure it's fitted, and then it's separately hitting the bottom of this. Here, it's all done in a fluid motion.
Moving toward the station. We'll keep an eye on them and update you on the situation as it develops.
Oh! So this is a bit of a greatest hits of action movie guns. Of course we've got a Deagle. Of course we have. Now our 50 here is it is a Mark 19, but it's not the latest version that we see in Back 4 Blood, which has I believe it's got a shorter barrel assembly and it's got built-in compensating balls up here on the barrel. And as far as mounting magnifying optical sights on a pistol, which isn't usually very helpful unless you are target shooting or maybe hunting large creatures, this is one of the better sort of ways to mount the sight, because the slides are not banging back and forth and messing up your accuracy, not degrading the actual sight. In terms of actual utility of this thing, I'm not sure. It's not the bomb-proof reliability of something like the Glock. Low capacity, 7 rounds of 50 actual rounds. It's maybe not an ideal choice, and yes, it's powerful, but it's not rifle level of power or even shotgun. Would you bother? I mean, you might find it. It's much more of a recreational firearm than it is a practical. I have fond memories of the M16 from Dead and F2. Probably another one here. It has been updated. It is either an M16A3 or A4. The one I grabbed just makes life more confusing because this isn't even an M16A2. And this will break some hearts for AR-15 enthusiasts, but this is an old Model 01 lower receiver with various bits of M16A2 furniture and an M16A2 upper receiver that has then had its carrying handle cut off and an original NATO spec rail fitted to it. And this, as you can't really guess, this is British experimentation in the 1980s to see how the very well proven, world standard M16 would fare when fitted with a 4-power British optical sight. So you don't often see M16 with super, so I thought I'd show it to you. So we have all the A2 features here that I would expect, except for the barrel is the wrong profile. You can see here, this is the standard A2 heavy profile barrel. The flash hider is weirdly stretched, and the handguard is weirdly flat. You can probably see from this one. Everything looks a bit beefy, but otherwise it's kind of what we'd expect to see. Bit of the detail on the M16. When we're looking through the scope here, we're looking along the top of this classic ribbed handguard, and what we're not seeing are these many holes cooling. It just looks it's the right sort of texture-ish, but that should be drilled at the factory with all of these holes, and they're not there. So that handguard is a bit of an anomaly. But what I noticed more than anything else about this, frankly, anything else I've seen so far, is the sheer amount of gore all over your hands, all over the guns. I think we talked about that briefly. Brains are not a test medium for military rifles. Mud, sand, water, ice, but not blood, brains, the sort of stuff that's flying absolutely everywhere. If you did slather your firearm in something of that texture, shall we say, what would happen? Well, I don't think it would be good. I especially don't think the holding the thing on the wonk like this that we've seen done in this game, that would not end well, because the stuff that's coming over the gun and landing in this ejection port, that's the last place you want anything to be landing. And as you're firing it, stuff is going to be landing in there. Never mind the fact that you might then get stuff on the magazine and introduce it into the magazine well, that could end battle too. Getting it on your optics is very unusable, you have to that's the point. So suffice to say, zombie goo, a firearm would not fit. This is a very faithful, as far as I can see, impression of the US M249 squad automatic weapon variant of the FM 5.56 millimeter action. You can always spot the 249 because of the upper handguard, which isn't usually present on other mini variants. It seems to work as it ought to, except that when everything tilted on the side, it seems some pretty worryingly lethargic case ejection going. I don't know if it was a glitch, but I noticed that when the player stops shooting, the very pretty column of spent cases vertically up out of the gun seems to just vanish into thin air. Whatever was still in the air just vanishes. That's something that might get fixed. What, of course, I don't think the game lets you do, that you'll be familiar with from things like Battlefield, is actually provide any sort of meaningful support fire. As long as I'm going to react to a big suppress anyway, you could pick them off with short controlled bursts and perhaps offer more effective cover than running around with the team blazing away from here. But I realise that doesn't support the gameplay of this particular game very well, and actually, practically speaking, you probably just get left behind and eaten. Or to death or whatever, while you're lying down trying to lay down fire. Alright, Saw Shotgun. Another one from the tick list. What did you expect to see? This one I've picked here. This is quite a vintage piece, 1880s. Would have been actually quite a nice, attractive sporting shotgun at one time, but it's had a bit of a hard life. It's then had barrels come down for some sort of criminal purpose. This came to us from one of the UK police forces, having been seized in a criminal context. But it does have what are called Damascus barrel, steel wire, iron wire twisted. Great barrels would look really nice originally. The gun that we see in the game is straight out Doom 2, isn't it? It doesn't have the buttstock still in place, which really you want for the £20 serious use. It's a classic sawed shotgun, sawed barrel and sawed stock, and it has the much more common top lever. It does still have external hammers, and they're both 12. One nice touch I noticed is the model was spinning. See down the barrel and you can actually see the plastic crimped ends of shotgun cartridges. I do like it when things are fully modelled, all working parts in there doing their thing, ideally. I realise it's not always necessary or there isn't time for it, but it's nice when things are modelled as though they're real. 2 triggers on this, as indeed on most double barrel shotguns, but not all. Even when they only have 1 trigger though, it only fires 1 barrel first and the next. These are sporting purpose firearms. The idea is to have 2 shots to shoot birds, plays, whatever it is. So these modified movie guns, most likely, and certainly video game guns that go off and set with both barrels with 1 trigger, you'd have to modify the thing fairly significantly to get it to do that. As to why that one's called the Belgian, well this one's a British maker, but Belgium was a real gun making hub for all sorts of guns, all sorts of qualities, from very early in history all the way up until, well, now. And in the 19th century, early 20th century, lots of cheap Belgian shotguns being made. So that may be why it's called Belgium. Right, well this is a bit of a gangster special. Intratec Tech 9, in this case the Interdynamic AG9, because this thing kept getting reinvented. Designed originally as a machine pistol in Europe, ended up as a semi-automatic pistol, that looks like a machine pistol, before the US self-defense market, essentially. It fell into the wrong hands frequently. It's a classic gang weapon. It's not amazing, but it would be around in an urban environment in the US. If you would happen across firearms, perhaps converted to full auto, I'm sure some of them would be Tech 9s. Whether they would run reliably is another matter. Whether you could hit anything without a shoulder stock is another matter. We do have sling loops on this one to put it on sling, push it out for some measure of control. That's not likely to be super accurate, not necessarily super reliable either, but it does fit the world. In case anyone's thinking that this thing firing at the block forward, closed bolt operation is wrong, but it depends on the variant. I mean, this one is actually open bolt, firing like that. Most of it's the Tech 9 variant was designed to be semi-automatic only, and then we redesigned the bolt to be closed when fired. So they changed the whole design inside in a way, in a bid to make it uniquely not readily convertible, if that makes sense. The worry from the authorities was it would be easily converted to fully automatic, making it more of a very useful criminal weapon. Usually when I point that nerdy fact out, it's because someone's modelled the gun correctly. In this case, no, it should be bolt forward. And even if you convert it to auto, it's still fire from close bolt.
Careless.
Those were the guns of Back for Blood, which I will definitely be trying on at some point. A very professional off the day fan. Thank you very much for watching, as always. We've got the links in the description for donations or anything you might want to check out from us over at the Royal Army Museum. Do come and visit us if you can. Check out our social media. Check out our YouTube channel. You might find something interesting there. Otherwise, see you again next time.
This is Jonathan Ferguson, keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Army Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And on this week's episode, he's taking a look at the military sim shooter Squad, and meeting a few fans along the way.
Oh, superb.
If there are any other games, guns, and mechanics that you want to see Jonathan break down, let us know in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one, and if you'd like to help out the Royal Army's Museum and continue to support Jonathan's work, check out the links in the description of this video. Right, over to Jonathan.
So far, so good. I do like the look and feel of this. I'm intrigued by realism. We're not really running very much. Quite a good implementation of it. I like the gas that's jetting out of the gas block, although that might be a little excessive. I don't know if I've seen it do it to that extent, but I like the sort of awareness that that's something that happens. The actual usage of it is good, but one of the first things I see is a light pod being deployed. Brilliant. We talked before about how light machine guns has to be fired for some sort of amount, or truly effective. If you fit the feed the light pod on it, you can use that as a stable firing platform to actually provide not just accurate fire, but its purpose, primary purpose,